Motion
to reconvene. Thank you, Mayor. All in favor? All right.
It's a long time I can do a few motions. You know.
That's why we like to make sure we give you the chance,
There you
Mayor.
go.
The floor is yours.
All right, item 7B is a council direction request regarding Axia. So maybe we'll ask administration to give us some thoughts on that.
You may have noticed Quantum Telecom was in town all of last week doing the due diligence and looking at their construction processes, getting their costs together. So Axia is putting some significant money into the due diligence because they have to pay Quantum to be down here for, they had a crew for a whole week. Quantum has been meeting with Leonard about replacing poles and cross arms, things they would need to hang infrastructure on our poles. And I feel that Axia in good faith is doing their due diligence. I've talked with Jason from Axia recently, and I feel that we have a bit of a window here to really drive this home, and it's not a large window.
No.
Jason's saying we want Cardston, it makes logistical sense for us, it makes infrastructure sense for us. It's a big community in Northern Alberta. Your 33% or whatever we're at right now is not compelling.
No.
That's where they're at. Now, they're still obviously doing their due diligence. We had Quantum in town for a week, so they're not shying away from getting that done. I just feel we have a window to really drive this home and really tip the scale on it. And I know that council's been hesitant to politically get behind a specific company, and I understand the ramifications of that, I do. But we also have a company wanting to invest 7 figures in the community here, and I feel if we can't get that number up around 50% as expressions of interest, I think it's going to be a stumbling block for us, and I really think we only have about 30 to 45 days to do it. That's just my feel.
Before we take questions, Jeff, do you want to speak about potential financial participation on their part for some polls?
Yeah, so one of the interesting things, and the mayor was with me yesterday when we talked to Sterling, where Fortis owns the Sterling infrastructure, obviously, but Mike, their CIO, was privy to those negotiations.
Right.
Axia paid to change out 24 poles in Sterling because Fortis hadn't done a full conversion there. And in talking with Leonard, Quantum has been meeting with him saying, we think we have a number of poles in your older areas we'd want changed before we put all our fiber optics on them. And right now, they're talking like they're willing to stand at least 2/3 of materials and labor costs to change those poles out. We haven't told them, we haven't played the card that we're doing the conversion anyway. So we're holding that card a little bit close to the chest saying, well, we're actually would like to push them to pay more of the costs. But honestly, at the end of the day, if we have to change a dozen or 20 poles and they pay 2/3 of those costs, that moves our conversion forward quite nicely. Which could be a good benefit to us as part of their conversion expenses.
Would they help with the labor on those poles as well?
Yeah, they would they may even contract us to replace the pole.
Sure.
Because I think what would happen is they would come back to us and say, would you guys swap it out? And then they'd compensate us for 2/3 of the costs. That's what's being kicked around over the table right now.
All right, and that's a significant factor to consider as we look at this, so there.
Okay. I understand that in some communities, in order to drive more interest, councillors went with Axia reps.
Oh, I didn't know they went with Axia reps, but okay.
In some places.
And I'm wondering, is that a possibility?
I'm sure
For us,
Axia would be all over it. But.
In order to give more credibility to our own interest as a town, to see that infrastructure in place. Because at the end of the day, it is an economic development
Boost.
It's $3 million or $4 million around there that the town could benefit from. So why we as politicians wouldn't be in favor of helping? What's the cost? What's the loss? There's only a benefit.
As Councillor Peavoy knows, the two of us spoke about this a number of months ago, that if what was needed was for us to get out there and go out and bang some doors,
Then do it.
we're more than prepared to go out and bang some doors. And given what we're hearing right now, I think that's what we should be
We
looking
need
at
to do
doing.
it.
regardless of whether they send anybody down from Axia,
I agree.
I think this has a value for our community that there's nobody else that's offering to put this kind of infrastructure in. It's not a case of grabbing a company and saying, I love Axia, and so I want to push their agenda. There's nobody else knocking the door down saying, we're willing to spend $3 or $4 million in your community. I think we have an obligation
I think so too.
to get out there and make sure that that gets put into our community.
So maybe,
What, Councillor Barfuss?
Where does that put those people who are happy with what they have?
They can keep what they have.
so keep what I have. It's,
No obligation for them to change.
no, it's only to show that people of this town support the notion of having fiber optic.
It doesn't even obligate
In
the
their
people to
town.
say that they're interested in it.
No.
There's no obligation in saying that you're
Yeah.
interested in it.
But that they would support an initiative for infrastructure in fiber optic. That's really what they are
Yeah.
signing to. Is they're not signing to say, I will convert. That's not what they're signing for. They're signing to show an interest in economic development opportunity for our town.
Frankly, the only thing you're getting by expressing interest is an occasional marketing email from Axia.
Essentially.
That's what you
And there's
get.
not that many of
I
them.
got 2 in 6 months now.
Yeah.
Yes, me too.
Yeah.
Well, I did understand from the presentation I went here that, the plus side is like, if you express interest, when Axia does come along and you
You get
want
the
Axia,
benefit.
they will waive
The
the
way the connection.
The
waive the
connection
connection
fee,
fee. So
yeah.
I think that would be we all tend to hang back and say, I'm not going to spend any money, but we've seen what happens in the community when something comes available, all of a sudden, oh, yeah, maybe I do want it. So I think there'd be a real plus for people to express interest in case when Axia does come along, maybe they would want to jump up to that fiber, speed and have that.
Sterling and Raymond are quite pleased.
Councillor Bengry, did you have a thought?
The county is pushing fiber optics
Yeah, but it's
big
not.
time. But what about our buffer area? What's happening there? Is Axia ready to?
No, I can assure you Axia is only looking within the municipal boundaries of
Yes,
the town.
yes.
You're not.
So we're not
Some
looking
counties,
at
No.
a mile
No.
radius
Well, again,
outside?
that's their business decision. So an example, Sterling. Sterling, they did the core area where there was pole infrastructure and that they could hang their fiber on, okay? And then what they've done is they've since come back because they're getting calls from people on the periphery and they're
Yeah.
quoting them on a case-by-case basis what it would cost to extend because they're not in a densely developed area. And it is $3,000 or $4,000 to go a distance, it just is. Which, by the way, is no different than Shaw. If you lived right outside the core, you're gonna pay Shaw $4,000 or $5,000 to extend your home.
Yeah.
So Axia is doing the core, and then they are coming back, and if people are really quite serious, then they're getting prices to those that they have to extend outside the boundary. Now, to be fair too, and to be clear, we may have some areas like Home Seekers, or Mark Bennett and Melvin Easthope. They're not gonna shoot all the way out.
They're inside of the.
They're inside the
boundary.
municipal boundary, but they're not going all the way south of the golf course. Not now, anyway. But they're gonna focus on the core.
Yeah.
Which for us would be a huge percentage. I mean, we'd still be pushing probably 90%.
Councillor?
I think it's really important to know when you say, you talk about people who are satisfied with what they have. And there are a number of people in town. I remember when I had a 56K modem and we all thought that was great speed. And because all we were ever doing was logging into a text bulletin board. And that as the content has changed, the speeds required to get there are changing. So a couple that, a senior couple where all they're doing is checking their email once in a while and maybe logging into the church website, they're not gonna notice a difference in speed. I can tell you right now in my house, we've gone all the way up to 150, and it's nowhere near fast enough for what our uses are. We can't, there's times where I can't stream a video because there's such a huge demand on what we have available. So people are gonna have to start looking a little bit beyond what they're currently using. And like as we all know, there's been a couple of businesses that have had to take their infrastructure out of our community because they couldn't get the speeds they had to have in order to run. So I think this is something that we really have to push.
Councillor?
Well, I spend a lot of time on the internet doing indexing, and I
Yeah.
spend most of my time
Waiting.
waiting for the
Uploading, I know exactly what you're talking
And
about.
I'm with TELUS right now, and I think they call it a V5 platform.
Yeah.
And I'm paying as much as what they're providing in other areas for much faster. And I talked to them and they said, we have no reason to come down there.
Yeah, yeah.
We're looking at it, but I said, well, are you going to do it in my lifetime, or? And they said, well, we can't really say, well, we'll put you on the list. So,
Yeah.
I was kind
All
of,
right.
yeah, that's the
you
same
know,
answer.
and when you figure what your time is worth, if you add it all up, you know, it's very expensive to sit there and wait.
Well, and Axia's packages aren't any more expensive than anybody else's are.
No, and the other
They're
thing is
competitively priced.
that if you're on Shaw, the more people that are using that at the
slower
same
it
time,
becomes.
slows it right
I
down.
know.
I can tell you when
Tell
school
me
gets
all
out.
about it.
Yeah.
Mayor?
All right, so since we realize it's an important issue, we need to have a little bit of a plan of action. So what I would like to know is how many around this table would like to go door to door. I would do it. Okay, all right, so we have at least 4 of us. So maybe what we need to do is have a meeting.
Can we maybe ask administration just to put a map together for us?
And help us a little bit, and
We can go in, we'll
we'll,
run down and down the streets.
right, but maybe,
Well, yeah, we'll prepare a communication.
Yeah.
maybe we could meet together at least to have a little bit of a common,
I'm
come away
wondering
to
if
do
maybe
it.
we would want to take our tablets with us and if somebody says they're interested,
and.
Jeff has a thought.
register them at the
Do
door.
you want to share what we can maybe
Council
do?
Peavoy asked me that very thing, and I said, you know, it's my tablet, if you took it, you can just take my phone and hotspot it.
Yeah, that's what I'm
You know,
saying.
most people can just hotspot with their phone, and they have internet access on their device wherever they go. What we don't, there may be a nice mobile sign-up platform for phones. You know, if we talk to Axie and say, look, give us the link, that's just a really slick, right on your phone, and done.
Right.
That could be a really slick way to go, and if
Yeah,
we could take a
maybe,
check.
maybe
if I need to
even
get my
better.
phone and 3 other staff phones that have big
Yeah.
data plans and send them out with you, great,
I
fun.
think that's probably the most efficient way to do it.
Yeah.
If you just hand them a brochure and ask
No,
them to go
it's
into their
not going
home to
to
do it, it
happen.
won't work.
We
It
need
won't
to
happen.
sign
It has
them
the
up
tablet.
right
You're gonna
there.
Have a common presentation dialogue.
Well,
That is
I'm
what
not so
we're
much
going
worried
to
about
do.
that as I am about having the phone or the
Right
device
now.
right there.
Right
Let's
there.
sign you up.
Sign you up.
Let's do it now while I'm on your
No
doorstep.
obligation.
And you'd have some brochures, they said, look, I want to talk to a spouse, or look at this, great, take this and then check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, for those people.
But right now, we're gonna register you, you know? Fine, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'd also.
Say no when they call you.
Yeah, I'd like to see the town precede our door-to-door knocking with an
Exactly.
announcement that we're coming out,
Yeah,
and a request to support the council.
And, you know, maybe it'll be, this week, maybe a good idea for myself to write a letter to the citizens and to talk about that
Yeah, do that, will
aspect.
you?
We pay the newspaper whether we
Done
done
anything,
something or
you've been
not.
pretty
It's a lot
lazy.
of haven't done it.
As we,
I don't know why.
Technically, it's my job. It's to help you. I can help you.
this out, are there any rumors that need to be dispelled? Somebody asked me about the financial health of Axie one time, and he says, you know,
What is
what
it?
about this? And I had no idea.
What is
So,
it?
I don't know, somebody was
Yeah.
saying something about the rumors about
Yep.
the financial
Yep.
health of the Axie, and I don't know,
I asked
So-
Jason that specifically up in Red Deer. I said, look, people are talking, you're not gonna get the SuperNet contract. And he
Makes
says,
no
look,
difference one
he
way
goes,
or the other.
if we install it in your community, who cares?
That's my answer.
Yeah, there's
They go
fiber
bankrupt
hanging on
tomorrow,
there.
the infrastructure's still
Yeah,
there.
and so you have dark
Wires stay.
fiber that
we either will sell in a liquidation to another company.
And it's still there, and somebody else is gonna pick it up.
Yeah, he said somebody's gonna use the
That's what water
pipeline.
can park.
Somebody's gonna use it.
So they're still gonna, they're committed to,
Oh,
and that's good, yeah, I mean, if they.
He tells me they are well-funded.
It'll be
Yeah.
here, yeah.
Very well funded.
They're,
Yeah,
the Swedish
I mean,
company just bought them, I think.
It's a
and-
Swiss,
Okay.
it's a Swiss company.
Yeah.
Swiss company.
Anyway, he says, first of all, we're well-funded, second of all, if it's in your community, why do you care?
Yeah, yeah, okay.
And away you go.
If all we do is get fiber to channel 32, we've accomplished something. All right,
Yeah, that wouldn't be,
So,
that would be the day,
We'll
huh?
prepare a communication and a bit of a notice that this will be starting.
also, Jeff, is there any way to know, like, which houses they've already got commitments from?
Yeah.
Don't.
No, actually, it's.
We're just gonna have to blanket
You
everything.
hit them all, okay.
What's that, Council?
We have
Yep.
those lists that we made up.
Well, we would have some.
One thing
but-
we can do is
Yeah.
track how many people we see sign in, like sign up.
Well, I can
And
also
then-
get the number the day before from Axia.
Right, so then we will know the number, like, as we reach that goal.
Yeah.
We'll know if we hit it or if we still have to work harder.
They would tell me, today, here's your number.
Right, and here's how many more you need to
Yeah.
get 50.
Okay, so,
Let's do it, let's do
so
it.
maybe we can meet together, and Jeff, maybe you can send us one of those monkey surveys to try to figure out when we can all meet
Okay.
together. Thank you.
Just not next week.
All
Yeah, I
right,
mean, as soon as possible,
I think that
right?
takes care of 7C.
Thank you.
You know what,
Worst-
sorry.
Worst case scenario, I was looking at the calendar and most of us just kind of mentally reserved Tuesday evenings for this.
Yeah.
There's that third Tuesday evening
Yeah.
where
But
maybe we just
could
go out as a
maybe just
council.
go and do it.
Hit it. And
Yep.
maybe get a couple of volunteers to join us. My kids will come and give Bengry some water and support him. You know, hold up his arms like Moses.
Fill by water.
All right,
We'd have to
so
get a porta
Census
potty.
analysis.
For Councillor.
7C, we have got our official numbers on what a citizen in our town gets us, and the net is $84.18 if MSI stays the way it is, all other things being equal. Jeff, do you want to talk on this a little bit?
Just, you said it at the end, this has to be very strongly caveated with all things being equal.
Yeah,
You know, you look at the financial burden and the costs, well, if you have a census and the town goes up 100, but everyone else stays the same, well, now your cost per capita just went up. But if you all raise the same, it doesn't change, you know, so that cost doesn't change, it stays significant. So it also depends on what's going on regionally to some degree. MSI is still largely in a state of flux, it's 48% based on per capita. That number could change, the grant altogether could change. So this is a snapshot of right now, this is the net grant and requisition benefit per person. So if we're considering a census at about $7,500 to $8,000, we need 100 people to make that pay in year one, to get our money back.
If things stay the same.
If we
Everything else
discover
stays the same, which I will not promise.
Yeah, there.
you're right, we cannot predict, we don't have a crystal ball yet. We know at this point that next year, the MSI won't be too different from what it is, according to what we hear the government tell us, which is not a bad news story. Having said that, there is also the fact that in May, the kids come back home from college, university, etc. And so, personally, I'm
Do you
wondering...
mean May or June?
May,
That's the road
June,
you're going down.
around there. Yeah, but I mean, there is that window. If you want numbers up, that's that window. And so I'm wondering if in 2018, in June of 2018, we wouldn't be well to have the census, considering that last time we had the census, we did not have Lake Rest filled at all. There were about 35 members there, and I'm pretty sure that those people didn't even register on the census. Right now it's full. So if you really look at that, you're talking,
It's 120 rooms, I think.
well, there you go. So right there, and it's full. They're on a waiting list. So is a lodge on a waiting list. So is a villa on a waiting list. It tells me something, that there is sure some shift from people from town that went into those facilities, but there's also a lot of people from outside of town that have joined those facilities. And I know that because I visit them. So personally, I'm curious to know if we're really at 3,586, having done +6 over 4 years, or if we are significantly higher than that. And personally, when I see the number of people that move in our ward, I mean, there's not one week when we don't have somebody moving in our ward. I don't know how is it for yours, but it seems to me there is some movement. We may not really understand where they are, all those people, but there is a movement upwards. And every time a person leaves a house that was a house of 1, for example, on our street, they're replenishing with a house of 4. So there is an increase somewhere.
Maybe we need to apply for some Syrian immigrants.
Well, let's not go there, Councillor. Let's keep that for another day. And you know, they have helped many towns in many ways.
I was just going to say, if there's an appetite to pursue this a little further, I'm thinking we have an election coming up in the fall, right? And I don't know that I'm comfortable saying we're going to do one in 2017. I just don't think we can mobilize and educate the public.
That's not what I'm
and
saying.
do it that fast. Perhaps there's a recommendation to council to bring this forward in budget 2018.
Yeah.
That way the next council will have their chance to deliberate on that expense.
What does it cost?
Well, I'm only going off kind of a little bit between what McGrath and Raymond spend, and I'm thinking about $7,500.
Yeah, around there.
Councillor?
Well, I'm prepared to move a recommendation to council that this be brought forward in budget for the next council.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? If not, we'll vote on that. All in favor? And that carried. Thank you. Alrighty, so that moves us to 7D. We've got the Partners of Saskatchewan River Basin. I took the time to visit the website of this organization, and if I read it correctly, a municipality of our size would pay a whopping $250 to be a member. That being said, I couldn't really see any
information and be satisfied.
There you go. We'll wish them all the best.
My thoughts exactly.
Okay. Which brings us to our new item on the agenda, 7E, Emergency Services.
So just a really quick one, at our last meeting a couple of months ago, it was brought up that there was a desire to give each of the members on emergency services a membership to the pool.
I remember that.
We have a meeting scheduled for this week. I want to be able to go into that meeting and with an idea from council of what you would expect. My thoughts are, if we're going to do it, that it comes from, well, it should just come out of the budget for emergency services, and so then it would be our proportionate share of the requisition for it. I don't think it's something that our community should be donating 20 members.
Do you remember the number? I didn't bring it, I said no to me.
Yeah, it was like 28. So, you know, at
1,500 bucks or something?
yeah, well, $200 a piece, it's say $6,000.
I think it was, yeah, just 5,900 bucks if I recall.
Yeah.
Was the
For
total.
all town?
Total, that would be the total
So
cost.
that would be 5,900,
Still
so
3,000.
we're about at 52%. Our
Just
share,
round it, say $3,000. I mean,
Our
that's,
share would be $3,000.
a little bit more, but 3,100.
Well, and the reality is perhaps a couple of those families wouldn't have otherwise bought a pass. So actual lost revenues,
You
maybe
can start,
2,500.
yeah, you can start calculating lost revenue.
Well, and that was one of my concerns, was the lost revenue, but more, I mean, it's left pocket or right pocket as far as that goes. My biggest concern actually was capacity. We had on hot days last year,
It was
Lineups.
full.
we were full.
Yeah.
You couldn't put more people in the
We
pool.
couldn't do the pitcher.
So putting 30 more families in there, is that,
The thought I had on that, Councillor, was that of those 30 families, how many of them already have a membership that they're using? You know, we don't know that. But I don't know, I've been thinking about it quite a bit since we had that meeting, and we rely on those guys an awful lot. We put a lot on them. They don't, I mean, they're doing the same thing. They're giving a service. They're not getting the kind of remuneration that you get in a larger city as a fireman.
No
They're
question.
volunteer.
no question.
And so I don't have a problem. I just really feel that maybe this is something that we can show our appreciation. It's not gonna cost us a lot of money to do it, but
My concern on it
But the
comes back
capacity
to
is an issue.
the, from a financial perspective, we increased what they're being paid.
Yes, we did.
That means our requisitions are gonna go up.
yeah.
And what was our what is our requisition now? You don't remember?
$86,000 or something?
So you're talking about,
96.
well, if you round it and say $90,000 at $3,000, we're talking about,
Mhm.
3% increase in our requisition.
The only thing we need to be careful about is this year is a pool, will next year be the gym, will next year be something else. That is a concern I have, not that they're getting it, but is that opening a door for more perks every year.
Those perks then become entitlements
Well,
pretty quickly, right?
that's my concern.
And
is
that's
it
my
now
concern.
Every year now. It's just an expectation.
And
But It
that,
would be I can almost guarantee that.
Yeah,
If we
that's true.
if we say yes to this, it's not just this year. We're saying yes to it
Forever.
forever.
no, but this is what I mean, then it's no longer a gift, it's an entitlement.
Councillor Bengry?
And yet I appreciate what they do.
My concern is, we have a community of volunteers. It's very prevalent when we do FCSS, the volunteer appreciation, and things like that. So what groups come forward now, like Citizens on Patrol? Are they gonna ask us for a pool pass or something like that? Could cost us another 13, or our foundation board come forward with a seniors fee that's a can 150. Are they gonna ask for seniors passes? I don't wanna get involved in it.
Well, maybe we look at a discounted price rather than a gift.
I mean, the one difference here is the fire service is hypothetically buying them all. So we're not gifting them.
Right.
It's just that it's gonna come back around and hit us on the requisition.
Yeah.
Correct. To me, that's the only, if we consider this, that's the only way to
way you
consider
can do
it,
it,
is
yeah.
that the emergency services
Yeah.
makes the purchase
Right.
and physically buys the passes for those people that want them.
Okay.
That's the only way I think
No.
of
The
it.
pool revenue goes to the pool,
Yeah.
and yes, we deal with our requisition.
Yeah, I agree
Okay,
there.
so that is one point. Now,
Go ahead.
if you don't mind, you start to drop the idea of FCSS. It's maybe not exactly the right point to talk about that, but I understand that FCSS is no longer going to do any formal recognition as a
Volunteer appreciation.
a volunteer appreciation
Ooh,
dinner.
Yeah.
And that has hit me a little bit strangely, because honestly, a town that does not honor their volunteers just with a little
They're gonna lose their
pin,
volunteer.
with a pin or with a cup, it truly disturbed me when I read that. Who is on FCSS?
For you.
So am I saying it correctly?
No, they're gonna get a gift. They're coming
Yeah,
out with.
but that's,
Not a banquet.
No banquet.
But
Yeah.
they'll be.
Wine
But-
on a banquet, though.
honestly, personally, that event is so well attended. I understand the thinking behind it. We cannot satisfy everybody. We can only have so many people at that banquet, like 200 people, which was the capacity downstairs. And I understand that. That never was a problem in any of the volunteer group that I am part of. We understood that. This year 5 goes and next year 5 others go. But that always has been the highlight for the volunteers. That get together, realizing how much that meant. It's a little bit of money, $7,000, whatever, $5,000 or $6,000. I understand that. But honestly, a cup a mug will never replace the feeling of that togetherness. I think it's a mistake. Just my opinion.
Okay, I'll take it back to FCSS.
Just my opinion.
I'll express my opinion and also a question. The limit on the number of people that we had when we just had it in this building, it's different down there, isn't it? I mean, we're not limited down there because we got an open space and, you know, you don't have a confined space. So we can honor a lot more volunteers by having it down there at the reunion center. And that's my thought. But when I read that as well, right now I was upset. I thought, how dare they make that change when you have so many wonderful volunteers that give so much, and to take that away from them, and it's just a dinner. I mean, it's a couple of burgers and some corn and everything.
It's a lot of work.
And it is a lot of work, but it's a wonderful opportunity to get everybody together and feel that we're honored for the service that we give. And I wasn't happy with it at all, and I don't know who made the decision, but whoa.
I thought that was a mistake.
It is work, yeah, absolutely. But still, that's just part. I mean, do we cut out all our Christmas dinners for the town? Do we cut out the Christmas dinners for the seniors? Do we stop there? I mean, where do you stop? I don't like it at all. I think that they should reconsider, continue to have it.
So it sounds like Councillor Bengry is going back to get FCSS in shape on that issue.
Well, what does everybody else think?
Can we please
let's
come
move
back to where we
to-
started from here?
No, I'm so sorry. I knew it
I
was
just want to
diverse.
have some direction to go back.
So there's two ways we can go. It sounds like
No, it's a
we've
diversion
ruled
and
out-
I knew it
We've
was.
ruled out our town wholly subsidizing these pool passes. So the only two options we need to decide between is recommending that Councillor Barfuss go back and say, we don't want to have anything to do with this, or if you do it at all, we're in support of it, but it's going to be from your organization, not from the town.
By requisition.
So just kind of around the table, if we may, Councillor Edmonds, what's your take on those two options?
I think you should buy the requisition and have them pay for it.
You'd be okay with it coming back on the requisition? Councillor Barfuss?
That's what I
That's
would.
your preference, Councillor Freed?
Yeah, I would agree with that as well, that
Councillor
they
Barfuss?
pay for it.
That would be the preferred solution.
Councillor Bengry. So it looks like we have unanimous, and take that back. I don't think you need a recommendation from here. So that takes care of that. Great discussion though on the FCSS dinner. If I don't
So
get
sorry.
that meal,
Committee
I will
reports are-
protest.
Next time, Mayor, put it on the agenda.
No worries, yeah.
Councillor Barfuss, I hear you. It's just because he pronounced that word volunteer and FCSM. So, yeah. Can you see all those volunteers coming to the town? By the way, I won my yearly pass too. Well, now we open the door to one group.
If their organization pays for them,
Yeah.
right? That's the difference here.
Yeah, I think that's the key.
Yeah, but
right?
they're paid by the taxpayer.
No, but it doesn't matter though, it's the organization
Comes
coming
from
to us
FCSS.
saying that there's a fairly significant difference there.
That committee approves that as a legitimate expense for their organization. It's a little different than the town just shelling them out.
You're correct.
Councillor?
Oh, just, speaking of FCSS, it's gonna kind of take me back to our census for just a second. Because, you know, when you put the FCSS requisition on there, I think we have to be aware that that requisition leverages additional money from the province, you know, like
Yeah.
for
Oh,
instance,
correct.
as
Yeah,
we
So
put
the
in a
community
certain
gets
amount,
more money.
but it's leveraging, you know, it's leveraging 70% or whatever that percentage is.
Is that funding maintained the same?
From, yeah,
FCSS?
from the province, so I don't know if that would
Right,
tweak
sure.
your figures slightly as you.
So if we offset what we're leveraging with what we're spending.
Yeah.
Right.
I see, okay.
There would be a gain, a net gain, when
So
you
it-
factor in the money the province gives us
So
to
we would
FCSS.
have an increased requisition, but it would leverage
Okay.
more additional money from
Yeah,
the
okay,
province.
I'll
Yes.
mention that, yeah.
All right, that moves us now to 9A. This is just information, the Alberta Seniors and Housing Authority looking to get any recommendations on some volunteers that need recognition. And if we're not gonna feed them at an FCSS dinner, we should at least get them some kind of recognition. We'll just take this for information here, pass it along to anybody you think is relevant that
I
might.
know FCSS got one, and I think the seniors got one
senior did
as
they get
well.
one?
I don't know for sure, but.
Yeah, but the seniors.
Maybe double check, forward it to somebody in that
And maybe the
organization.
seniors will grab a hold of this and go with it then.
And with that, we are looking for one yes.
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn, all in favor? And, we don't need a
Thank you
vote.
very much, Councillor.
That's okay. That's what we're all happy for.
There you go.